It's a short week, holiday week. Vikings play Thursday, Thanksgiving. We got to talk about it. We got to do our prop bets. We got to do our bold predictions. Welcome to the Locked On Vikings podcast.
You are Locked On Vikings, your daily Minnesota Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Locked On Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, your pal, and the kid you copied off in math class. My name is Luke Braun. You can find me on Twitter at LukeBraunNFL. You can find the show on Twitter at Locked On Vikings. You can also find the show on Amazon Fire and Roku. If you have those smart TVs, just download the Locked On Minnesota Sports app. You can find all of the Minnesota sports shows. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs is the best place to post your job. They can help you find candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Today on the show, we got to talk Patriots. It's time to put that silly Cowboys game behind us. Although coming off of it, I think these two games are going to be interlinked forever, just as they're 4 days apart. But it's time to start talking about New England. And for me, the biggest thing about this, and I've been talking about it all week, so I won't go too in depth, but it's just about how they bounce back, right? They got punched in the teeth. They had one of the worst games out there. I saw somebody put it in a way that I really liked. Don't let that loss become more losses, right? That one sucked. You got to take your L. You got 2 in the L column now. Don't let it become 3, 4, blah, blah, blah. Make the comeback. But here's the concern that I have, the primary concern that I have, and it sort of spoils one of my Grambles for the You Betcha segment. Also, of course, your bold predictions coming up too. But I'm worried about the Patriots run game and the way the Cowboys attacked the run game. They just beat a lot of players. They used a lot of power. And I think that Bill Belichick is going to know that, and he's going to see that. And I think he's going to be able to attack that. So I think the Vikings have to be able to fit everything a little tighter, and run fits are so hard because they're so subtle. Everything is so tiny, little margins of 6 inches here, 6 inches there can be the difference between a running back having enough space to do the juke he wants to do or not. And that was what, like, the Vikings did a pretty bad job of that. And then I think they also sort of played a little bit of hero ball at the end. Where everybody wanted to be the guy that got the light up, that got the big, the play that gave them the spark again, the big strip or whatever. And they just weren't doing good mechanical tackles anymore. And then, kind of what could have been a 7-yard run turned into a 20-yard run. And that happened on the goal line for one of the touchdowns. And so they have to kind of pull that back, and it's a little bit back to basics. So I would imagine that would be an emphasis of this week, but it's also a short week. So how much can you emphasize that? So I think if this is a world where the Patriots come into US Bank and pull off the upset, Vikings are favored by 2.5. As much as the national world hates the Vikings, they're still favored over these Patriots who had that hideous Monday night game against the Bears. Like, things are not going better for them. But so the Vikings are favored. But if the Patriots are going to pull off that upset, I do think that it comes with, Ramondre Stevenson, who's surging, getting them into 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 versus 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12. And I think how the Patriots do against the chains is going to be the bellwether, if you will. It's going to be the canary in the coal mine for how this game is going, on that side of the ball, at least. If the defense can keep Mac Jones in long yardage situations, keep him in pass only situations, I don't think Mac Jones, or maybe Bailey Zappi, I don't really know what's going on over there. I'm going to ask Mike Debate on Crossover Thursday tomorrow, which, by the way, make sure you tune into that if you can. It'll be up Thursday morning. I know it's a holiday and everything like that, but if you can do it, pop it in while you're based in the turkey or whatever. That will be up, so be aware. But I'm going to ask him, what is the deal with these quarterbacks? Should Bailey Zappi be starting? Should Mac Jones be starting? What's the deal? But, you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. That's the old adage. I don't think if we can keep them from, if we can get them into 2nd and 9 frequently, I don't think the Patriots have the juice to regularly enough turn 2nd and 9 into a fresh set of downs without hitting explosive plays. And then, limit explosive plays is a lot easier than limit everything. That's where I think the defense has to be. On the other side of the ball, I think health is going to be a big angle. And the biggest thing for me is don't screw up your protections as much. The Vikings screwed up their protections a lot. And a lot of the problems that happened, those instant sacks that kept happening in that Dallas game, they started at the beginning, at the line of scrimmage with communication, with the splits not being right, the depths not being right. Offensive linemen need to be, when they're on the slide side, I've been calling it the wall side, but the Vikings call it the slide side. So I'm going to use that term. But the side with, guys together, they got to be close enough where they can help each other. And the further apart that can be, the better. Like the further apart you can get away with, the better. So offensive linemen, the more agility you have, the more space you can cover, right? But at a certain point, if you're too far apart, and Blake Brandel did a very bad job of this because he's a backup and he was going in, on the fly. If they split too far apart and it gives the lineman too much time, too much space to go in, you are essentially you're turning yourself into, you have to be a 350 pound or 330 pound quickster, like a 330 pound slot receiver with agility. And you're too big. That's too much weight to move around. They're going to be able to get around you because edge rushers are more agile than tackles. If Blake Brandel was more agile, he'd probably be playing on defense. So you can't put yourself in that situation. And that's what really happened on the offense. Health-wise, we already know Christian Darrisaw will not be playing. Kevin O'Connell has confirmed that, so it will be Blake Brandel. We don't know what's going on with the cornerbacks. Caleb Evans is in the concussion protocol still, but he's been limited all week. That's a good sign, but on a short week, you can never know. And Cameron Dantzler still on IR. Andrew Booth also on the injury report. He has been practicing all week. So that means we might be looking at Duke Shelley. If we're looking at a Caleb Evans, I feel okay about it. He's been a fine backup, but we do miss Cam Dantzler a lot. I can't wait to get him back. Similarly, Dalvin Tomlinson has been limited all week, and he's a genuine game time decision. That will be huge to all that run stuff I talked about earlier. James Lynch got picked on a lot by the Cowboys. So getting him out, getting Dalvin Tomlinson in, at least for 8 of 10 drives, that will be a big boon. So that's all part of it, right? The health situation. The Patriots have their own slew of injuries as well. I'm going to talk to Mike Debate tomorrow about it, just because we'll have more injury report info after the Wednesday one comes out. But the point, I guess, is there are a couple of very specific problems that got really bad in that Cowboys game. And I think if the Vikings can fix those, they can have a bounce back game. I'm actually kind of feeling a bounce back game. You're going to see it reflected in You Betcha, in the Grambles, in at least the way that I talk about some of your bold predictions, which is what we have coming up next. But first, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp is online therapy. Therapy is important. I'm a huge proponent of therapy. Whether it's not like a crisis thing. Therapy is not an emergency room that you go to. It's maintenance. And I think whether you are struggling with something, you have a stressor, you don't have to be diagnosed ill to benefit from therapy. You can just be stressed about stuff, anxious about stuff. Go to BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/lockedon in particular. They have the world's largest therapy service. They've matched millions of people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists, all available 100% online. So whether it's a video call or just text, like a non-continuous conversation is more comfortable for some people, that's totally fine if that's you. Or whatever you want, calls, anything. There's no waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching, because they can bounce you around with the right therapist and get you matched up with somebody that works for you. So get unstuck with BetterHelp. Learn more and save 10% off of your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day. Once again, for your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. They'll be talking World Cup over there. They talk about all sports. So basketball, hockey, of course, a bunch of NFL stuff, and what's going on in the wide world of soccer, all kinds of great stuff. Go check out Locked On Sports Today. You can also find I made one Patreon video on the Cowboys before I had to skedaddle for the holidays. So I did manage to get one out. You can find that at patreon.com/LukeBraunNFL. If you are curious to know, okay, what actually went wrong in that Cowboys game, you can find that. But for now, we got to do a little bit of You Betcha, the Gramblin segment that we've been doing all year long, talking about some prop bets. We will. So I sort of teased the first one that I'm going to talk about, which is Ramondre Stevenson over 89.5 yards. I don't feel like this is a given by any means. It's a really high line, but he has been humming. And he has hit his over a lot recently. So they have had, I think the betting market has been underestimating Ramondre Stevenson. And B, just looking at what happened during that Cowboys game on a short week, there's too much stuff for the Vikings to fix for me to feel like they're going to come out and just wall this dude off. And if they do, if Ramondre Stevenson gets 2 yards a carry, that is insanely impressive. And we're going to come back and talk about it. And I'm going to be like, holy crap, Ed Donatel, great job. Because I think they have a long way to go in not a lot of time. They are really behind the 8 ball there. So I really like that over. But there's a couple of Vikings ones that I really like. So what in the Cowboys game, the Vikings went to TJ Hawkinson in the red zone so much. And of course, those catches were not complete. So that is not necessarily the most confidence inspiring. But the way NFL teams behave is usually going to be a lot less reactionary than the way fans behave. If I asked most Vikings fans, hey, do you think they should throw a lot to TJ Hawkinson in the red zone against the Patriots? I'm sure most people would say no. In fact, maybe I'll do that poll on Twitter, see what people say. But most people would probably say no, he couldn't catch. We shouldn't trust that. The team is going to say, we're going to give you every chance to get your mojo back. And we're going to throw to you in the red zone. So I like TJ Hawkinson anytime touchdown. I even like him first touchdown scorer, if you can get that. But I'm doing all of these at betonline.net, where the game starts, of course. And I like the odds there better of just anytime TD plus 200. So you triple your money if you get Hawkinson anytime TD. And I also like Kirk Cousins over 3.5 rush yards. We've got an offensive line problem, and Kirk Cousins is no longer afraid to scramble. He can clear that in one play. Matthew Judon chases him out of the pocket. He goes and gets 1 first down, or a 3rd and 9, and he fights for it, and he doesn't even get it, but you still cover your over. I love 3.5 for Kirk Cousins. I probably would hammer Kirk Cousins rushing yards over 5 yards just about any time the line is that low. So those are the 3 that I really like. But here's what I'm going to do. Usually it's a bit more of an obscure prop, like a double or something like that. Vikings minus 2.5, baby. I'm taking it. I am keeping the faith. I've been keeping the faith all week. Watching the way the Cowboys game went, to me, doesn't portend doom. There are problems. Of course, you don't lose 40-3 and come back and say everything's hunky-dory. But God dang it, they were closer than you think to making that, to keeping up in that game. And things tend to snowball in the NFL. I may draw your attention to another infamous Viking blowout. 41 donut. Let's think about that for a second. I'm going to go right all the way back because I did the history doc, patreon.com/NFL. And this is the point I made in the history doc when it was time to talk about 41 donut. Little things in that game at the beginning of it, a couple of fumbles. There was some weird stuff going on with the sod, like they had just resodded, and I don't think the Vikings had the right cleats for the first half or something like that. That kind of stuff is a tiny margin that then it starts to like snowball. And the Vikings, and Kevin O'Connell sort of admitted this after the game, they kept going for a home run to get like the shot in the arm. We wanted some juice. We're down 14 points. So let's go deep, rather than just trying to put together a drive. And I think that's one of the big coaching lessons that they can learn. That is, O'Connell already has addressed that. He doesn't need to learn that lesson again. He's not going to make that mistake literally 4 days later. It's on his mind. And the Patriots are just not even close to the team the Cowboys are. And they're at home and all that. You're going to have the primetime purple and that whole environment, that atmosphere. The team has already shown its ability to bounce back from a blowout loss, right? They went to Philadelphia. They got killed. They came back and they ripped off 7 straight, including a London trip without a bye. Like, they actually accomplished something pretty cool after that. It was very clear that one game was not going to be the thing that sinks their whole season. Like, if we're being honest, Arizona, who's going through all kinds of problems, I think 1 or 2 losses at the beginning of the year really did kind of sink them. And there are other teams like that, you kind of get your spirits up. It's week 1. We're going to go out there and you get punched in the mouth twice in a row. And you kind of go, man, maybe we aren't all that. And you start second guessing and you hesitate and it's all that. I think the Vikings have shown more resilience than that. Enough for me to buy into it. So let's keep it chill. Vikings minus 2.5. I'm taking it. I'm also taking Kirk over 3.5 rushing yards, Hawkinson anytime TD plus 200, and Ramondre Stevenson over 89.5. Coming up, we have to talk about your bold predictions. We already talked about one this week because one hit and we partied. That's on Monday if you want to hear the party. But we got to talk about all the other ones and, of course, the ones for week 12. First things first, though, let me talk to you about hiring season. If you need to bring in somebody for that Q4 push, or if you're just trying to prep to bring in people for the 2023 year, LinkedIn is the place to do it. LinkedIn Jobs has all kinds of simple tools like screening questions and stuff that help you match candidates with the right skills and personality and all of that you need for your business, especially small businesses. Each one has its own personality. Each one is a unique and special little snowflake. And LinkedIn can help you customize what you're looking for to make sure that you're getting the right team member and you're not just getting overwhelmed by a stack of resumes. So go to LinkedIn Jobs and you can actually post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Super easy to do. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. It is time to get bold. I would usually yell that very loud, but there are people sleeping near me, so I'm not going to do that. But it is nonetheless time to get bold. If you missed it, one bold prediction. We've had 2 weeks in a row where a bold prediction hit. All right. I can't get any more familiar with condiments. And I'm just going to leave that at that. You guys are getting too good at this. All right. I'm getting worried. I'm nervous. You got me on my ropes. For those who missed it, Spaceman said that the Cowboys would have more sacks than Justin Jefferson has receptions. In hindsight, I don't know if that was bold enough. I probably would have made you double that, which still would have hit. So you definitely you get all the credit. But I wanted to get to go a little bit bolder. All right. If we got 2 hitting in 2 weeks in a row, we're not getting bold enough. But we'll talk about all the other ones. Viking Jack said that the longest play of the game would match the final score. The final total score. The longest play of the game was like 68, and the final total score was 42-3. Really nice. They got the tens digit. We got the ones digit. Everybody's happy. So we didn't hit that. But Aiden Koob said that the Vikings get shut out in the first half, but still win. They did not get shut out in the first half. They did get shut out in the second half, and no, they didn't win. Joe, man, we were feeling ourselves, weren't we? Joe said that Dak would throw 3 bad picks and get benched for Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush did come in, so he kind of backdoored it there, but not in spirit. Luis Arias supporter said that in homage to Randy Moss's Thanksgiving game, JJ would go over 163 yards on his first 3 catches. Nope. He did only get 3 catches for like 30 some yards. Is terrible. And then Gabriel Greco said that in the third quarter, we would outscore Dallas by exactly the average points we were outscored for in third quarters. And then the opposite would happen in the fourth quarter. It was like a subversion of our we suck in the third quarter, but we're great in the fourth quarter trend. And it turns out we got blanked in both. So that stinks. That's not very fun. But hey, we did hit one bold prediction there. So let's get into the bold predictions for this one. And Andrew Creel is going to start this one off. You know the way to my heart. CJ Ham, 2 touchdown game. Absolutely love it. He did get the fullback dive. This is very bold. I don't see CJ Ham getting a red zone carry for a while now, but I see them faking it a lot. But hey, I don't know. Maybe they go to it again and really put it on tape, and then they can really fake it like come playoff time and really like pay that out. There's also ways for CJ Ham to get like receiving touchdowns and stuff that are sale concepts and like meshing and things. You do get a lot of red zone snaps for CJ Ham. So why not? As likely as any of these. Malcolm Biggles said that by next week's bold predictions video, which would be, I'll have to say when I'm recording it, which would be Thursday night, late Thursday night, Belichick will publicly reiterate his belief that all plays should be reviewable. I absolutely love this because it has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of the Vikings and Patriots. The Patriots could win this game by 30, and if there's a bad call, Bill Belichick would still be upset about it. So I could see it cashing. Like, if there is a bad call that is not reviewable, something like a missed face mask, like in that Eagles Commanders game a couple of weeks ago, that is not a reviewable thing, but it was so clearly would have been overturned if it was. And I agree with, I haven't heard Belichick say this before, so I'm just taking your word on it, that he does say this. And I agree with him that, like, there shouldn't be, like, we don't need to add more reviews, but we already have a Sky Judge-esque entity that can step in, review, and overturn a call without slowing the game down or without making somebody use a challenge. And it just helps us get the right call more often, and we should just give that guy permission to do it for more things. Like, that's all the change that there needs to be. We're not going to get a million reviews. It's not going to turn into this like VAR, or like when instant replay became such a big thing in baseball. It's not going to be that, because part of that guy's goal is not to slow down the game. Like, it's part of the instruction, and it's part of the methodology, is like, you got to do it before the next play is up. And you're still going to have that thing where, hey, if there's a questionable, didn't he catch it? The other team's going to rush up to the line and maybe get a playoff. And I think that's fair, right? Like, that's the game. If they got a playoff and they did it fast before the review could come in, good for you. You got up to the line fast. But I don't know. As an aside, I agree with that. I think that for really, really objective things. Now, if it's something like roughing the passer, where this is kind of a judgment call, you're probably not going to get a lot of overturns there. But for stuff like face masks, for stuff with really clear and defined rules, if you find that on camera, I think you should be able to do something about it. Skolator says, we'll finally cruise to victory. The minimum of the Vikings percentage chance to win the game will be in the first minute of play. Essentially, that means that we would start with a minus 2.5, and we would like basically never give up anything. So the Patriots could get the ball, score first, and that would happen. And I'm going to make this even bolder. Not the first minute. I'm going to say, like, it has to start. It has to never drop below where it started. That's what I'm going to give you there. And we'll use probably ESPN's model, maybe Pro Football References, whichever one I decide to look up, honestly. And if there is a discrepancy between the two, I promise you I'm not going to use that to cheat. But yeah, cruise to victory with the Vikings never giving anything up. They've just never done that before. And if they come off of that Cowboys game doing that, just like easily beating somebody, and you're bored with the game by the third quarter, I would be more than happy to party again. Skull Actuary comes in with one that says 6 Patriots go over 40 yards receiving. Now that's bold. Now we're talking. I don't know, has that ever happened in a game? I love it. That would be something. That would be very, very sad. And I think rushing is going to be the main problem in this one. So I don't even see that one happening like in spirit, but who's to say? It's bold for a reason. Eric the Red says, in the spirit of giving thanks, the winning team will give away 3 more turnovers than the losing team. So we do see this stat sometimes where teams with a -3 turnover differential are like 2 and 187 or something like that. So this is an incredibly rare occurrence. And if you call your shot, I'm going to be very, very proud of you. But hey, yeah, right. It's Thanksgiving, and we are certainly in the holiday spirit. Final one we're going to do today comes from B. Lanner, who says that both teams will take a safety, at least one of which is intentional. I love the intentional safety call. Yeah, you know what? I am going to hold you to that. Usually I'd be like, I don't need it to be intentional, but in the spirit of bold predictions and in the spirit of you guys are getting too good at this, I need to make it harder, I am going to hold you to that. So there you have it. Bold predictions and all that stuff. We are still talking, again, to Mike Debate tomorrow, crossover Thursday. I know it's going to be Thanksgiving, but I also know that a lot of you have a lot of work to do on Thanksgiving, a lot of hands work to do, and you're going to need something to listen to. So kick on Locked On Vikings podcast. Kick it on your Roku or Amazon Fire if you got that, or just wherever you find your favorite shows, or YouTube, or whatever. I will see you all tomorrow. Everybody have a happy holiday if you can't listen, and I'll see you guys on the other side of the Patriots game in that case. But for everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow. And as always, Skull.